So Manchester City fans, fantasy football managers and Sergio Aguero's mother are in a bit of bother today. The Argentine has been injured in a car crash in Amsterdam, reportedly in a taxi on his way to the airport. I assume the taxi driver wasn't a Manchester United fan. Anyway, let's take a look at other footballers who ended up in car crashes, and I'm not just talking about this video. Anderson. Considering Anderson managed to spend 8 years of his life at Old Trafford, despite being closer to the second coming of Cleberson than Ronaldinho, he can count himself very lucky to escape the annual cull at Old Trafford. The Brazilian can also count himself very lucky to still be alive. Like many a Brazilian footballer, by God Robinho, we are looking at you, the man likes to party, and in July 2010 was leaving a Portuguese nightclub in the early hours of the morning. He was driving home to his house in Porto Alegre. He was probably too tired to get to Manchester when the car spun off the road, smashed into a farm wall, with the Brazilian ending up unconscious in a field. Despite having made a living out of sleepwalking across pitches, the Brazilian was dragged from the vehicle minutes before the car exploded into a ball of flames, a fitting metaphor for what had once been a promising career. The 23-year-old then refused to take a breathalyzer in his native Porto Alegre, and that was the end of that. JERMAINE Pennant. JERMAINE Pennant is the sort of guy to leave his Porsche parked in Spain, sign for Stoke City and forget all about it for 3 months. It wasn't the first time he'd had a bit of trouble with cars though, having wrapped his Mercedes around a lamppost while drink driving in 2006, as well as having no insurance and a dodgy haircut. This resulted in him being banned from driving, given a 3-month jail term, although he was released after a month if he wore an electronic tag, making him look like somebody's pet. He obviously mustn't have been that big a fan of Ashley Cole, who is, because when he was pulled over he told officers that he was him. Unfortunately for him, the police had watched enough relegation battles and seen enough players who couldn't cross a ball to know exactly who he was. Mario Balotelli. Mario Balotelli arrived in England 7 years ago with a reputation as big as his head, with stories emerging almost every day about the Maverick. The Italian claimed he wanted to settle down, concentrate on his football. Yeah, this was before setting off fireworks in his own bathroom. Anyway, just a few weeks after signing for the club, he crashed a customised £120,000 Audi R8 into another car in downtown Manchester. If you thought he was done there though, not on your life, or anybody else's. Seemingly thinking he was playing the main role in Need for Speed, the Italian put a teenager in hospital 2 years later after his white Bentley spun into a Vauxhall Corsa. In October 2016, he crashed his agent's Bentley, this time in Nice. Lad, either slow down or get some driving lessons seriously. DIETMAR HAMANN. DIETMAR HAMANN was a solid player during his 7 years at Anfield, but once he crashed his car in Halloween 2006, he stuck around for about as long as he did at Bolton Wanderers. The German drove the Porsche into a fence near a Manchester airport and so decided to flee the scene of the crime. Police found him almost 2 miles away, jogging at 3 AM in a full dinner suit and smelling of alcohol. His excuse? He'd been drinking at the local pub. DD, the pub closed 3 hours ago. He was subsequently banned from driving for half a year. Papa SOUARE. Finally a feel-good story and not just the tale of drunken and or reckless footballers behind the wheel of a car. In September 2016, Crystal Palace defender Papa SOUARE was airlifted to hospital after being involved in a serious car crash, sustaining injuries to his thigh and jawbone. Had the impact been a couple of centimeters higher, according to SOUARE himself, it could have broken his spine and he would have been paralysed. Initially it was feared he'd be out for 6 months. The Senegalese returned to training after 11 months and made his first appearance in a year in a 1-0 win over Huddersfield Town in the Carabao Cup a couple of weeks ago. Cristiano Ronaldo. He may be used to destroying defences and footballers' dreams on a weekly basis, but Cristiano Ronaldo is also pretty capable of wrecking expensive cars as well. In January 2009, the Portuguese was flying for Manchester United, a European champion and having netted 42 goals the previous season, a career best at the time, even if it currently ranks as his 8th most prolific campaign. He was on his way to training when he smashed his Ferrari into a roadside barrier in a tunnel near Manchester Airport. Luckily, the 23-year-old escaped unhurt, but by God, I'd say Real Madrid chief officials were frantically clicking refresh on the updates. Edwin van der Sar had been driving behind him on the way to training, so instead of laughing at his stricken colleague while he was being spoken to by police, he kindly stuck around before giving him a lift to Carrington. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.